The Urban Beats library is a really sweet and powerful part of the Kontakt 5 factory content, and I think there's a lot going on under the hood that a lot of users may not know how to access, and I think it warrants exploring. Now, it consists of sliced beats and grooves, so you can use it either to trigger multi-samples and program your own grooves, or to play preset grooves that ship with each of the presets, or to customize your own. So there's 4 sections, and you can see that represented with the 4 different tabs here. From C1 until B2, we trigger individual slices from the loops, and that's this range over here. So they're all individual elements, and on this first drum kit page over here, we can control the parameters of each of them. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, the next octave, C3 to B3 over here, selects mixer presets for the original loops that are mapped out in this range. So here, we have different settings, and we can trigger them with the keyboard. Or we can use this orange knob to move between them. The third section over here is the Groovebox performance view, and this is where we customize our own grooves. And finally, we have Master Effects, where we can adjust a variety of effects that'll be applied to all of the audio and the instrument. So let's start right at the beginning. Now, we have a select by MIDI, so whatever MIDI note number I play, it'll call up the parameters for that specific sound. Or we can adjust it manually like that and call them up if you don't have a MIDI keyboard in front of you. I'll dial this back down to the kick drum, and I'm going to turn off Select by MIDI and play a little region that I've programmed in using the multi-samples, and we'll explore the controls. They're fairly intuitive. I have a filter. We can pan the sound, tune it, and step through some different EQ presets. We can send to reverb or delay. And here we adjust the parameters for each of those. So for the delay, maybe I want less feedback. And we can adjust the parameters for the reverb, and we have an optional equalizer. And an amp envelope. Now on the next tab over here, the loops, this acts as a mixer for the individual sounds or tracks from the original loops. So the thing to remember here is that only the volume settings are stored in the preset slots, so not the mute or solo states, or not any of these EQ sound presets or saturation controls. So here we can again trigger these different settings by triggering the notes manually in this octave, or by using this orange knob. And you see as I step through them that the volume levels are different, but not the status of any of the other controls. So again, here I'm going to switch to another loop, and now it's triggering one of the loops in this octave, and we'll explore the parameters. So here I'm adjusting the EQ of the snare. And the saturation. Maybe I want to bring that down. If I step through the presets, only the volume is remembered. Now we have another tab here for sends, where we can send to reverb or delay. Now the third tab here is, in a way, the most interesting. It allows us to create our own patterns between C4 and B4. So the pattern settings section over here allows us to copy and paste patterns to different slots from here. So again, we trigger them by hitting the notes in this octave, or we can just move around here and we see the different step settings for each of the patterns. So we can copy and paste and clear patterns if we want to copy one to the other to make variations. Here, fairly self-explanatory, we have swing for the offbeat 16th or 8th notes, and we can quantize the note on events so that they're synced to the master clock. The latch button, when it's active, keeps the triggered pattern playing even after you release the key, and then you hit the key again to turn it off. Now, the tuning grid allows us to control the range of transposing the sounds, and that interacts with the blue part of this interface over here, which we'll get to in a moment, where we can transpose individual steps within this pattern. So really very powerful. And this part is a lot of fun. The remix pattern section allows us to kind of quasi-randomly rearrange the patterns. What we need to do is just choose a type in this type knob and then click the now button and it randomizes it. So it's very cool to come up with some serendipity. And here is where we actually program the steps. So there's 8 different tracks over here, and we choose the sound that we want on each track from this menu, and then we just click and drag the orange levels over here to adjust the velocity, and then over here for the transposition. So again, I'm going to switch to another loop trigger that I have here, and this is triggering the C4, and we can explore these parameters. Let's go to track 1 where we have this kick. So now I'm transposing it down. Maybe I want to add some more in. Let's go to another track. So I'm transposing that snare up there. Let's go to another track. It's a lot of fun. Let's randomize it. I'll just stop and start it so we can randomize it and hear it each time it's triggered anew. That's random. It's a lot of nice possibilities here. So a lot of fun. I love playing with this random generator. And of course, we can save presets when we find or come up with settings that we want to save. And I can copy this and paste it to another one of these patterns, then maybe create some variations. So a lot of power with these urban beats. And then as if that wasn't enough, we have the 4th tab for the master effects where we can adjust a bunch of parameters here that are applied to all the sounds in the instruments. And again, here we have different presets we can trigger in the upper range of the keyboard, or we can switch through them here. And we have a nice filter, some saturation, the EQ parameters, different convolution reverb. Very nice sounding. These are different presets of effects. And again, here we can copy and paste to different slots to create variations. So that's the Urban Beats instrument. I love it. I think there's a lot of nice creative juice in here waiting to be tapped. And we'll continue with more in the next video.